This is going to be your guide for using the Cram O Matic in the Pokemon Sword and Shield Isle of Armor update. So I'm going to start off this video by saying something many people have wanted to hear. I was wrong. The Cram O Matic is not crafting. It's freaking alchemy, which makes it so much cooler. So this is the information that has come out recently about the Cram O Matic. Actually, it's been out for a little bit of time, just haven't gotten around to making the guide update for it. So standard recipes are calculated using a point system. And when you look at it, these are all of the possible items that you can get from the Cram O Matic. So some that you might be looking for could be missing here. But overall, it seems like a really competent system. And it's like one of the best ways that Game Freak could have done this without like programming individual recipes for each item or item combination or something like that. So it's a point system. Each input item is assigned a number of points and a type. And that makes it even cooler, and it makes a lot of sense as well. So the inputs are going to have different types, and then the output is what you're trying to go for if you're targeting an item. Now, for me personally, this makes the Cram O Matic a lot more fun to use because it isn't as much about memorizing recipe combinations as it is finding optimal paths with the items that you have. Now, you can still go to like the Google Doc and then look up direct recipes if you want a quick way of getting an item, but there's also going to be a lot of different ways that you can kind of craft your own thing. So let's go and take something random and just kind of apply it. So this is going to be the TR for Flamethrower, and it's going to require 52 through 60 points. And then we can see the items have different point values. You can also sort it by points. So it's like, oh, if I have a lot of bottle caps, or if I have like a lot of these kinds of items, I can get a very high point value, and that's going to help out with it. But also just kind of random things that you might acquire. And this is where the Digging Duo comes into play, and this is why the Digging Duo is even cooler than ever, because you do a lot of Digging Duo, and then you're going to have a lot of resources to make all kinds of crazy things. Now, what you can do is just kind of take this method, and then use it to craft any item that you're looking for as well. So we're going to want to go by type, because we need to start off with fire. Now, we can see here red apricorn, sunstone, and a cherry berry. Well, cherry berries, you can just straight buy those, so let's go and add that. That's going to give us 2 points. So now what we're going to be looking for, again, is something, 50 points? 52 to 60. Then all we have to do is sort by points, and we can try to find something that's going to put us into that range. Now, one item that I found to be pretty invaluable is the light clay, since you get a lot of them from the Digging Duo, and it's just a good number at 20. Kind of use that to pivot into a lot of other recipes, so let's go hit that up. We can add 2 in. Well, that's already going to push us up to 42 points. Which means if we can get 10 more points or like something in that realm, then we're going to be able to add this and then get the item that we're looking for. Nugget is 16, Iron Ball is 16. Have a lot of things here in the 14 and 12 range, like a Heat Rock or something. So depending on which Digging Duo you've done, you might have a lot of these extra spares. And it's kind of interesting because some items that feel kind of rare aren't worth as much as you think they are. Like we have the Evolution Stones. The Evolution Stones are only 6 points, but they do have typings behind them, so they're really good for starting off on recipes, but we need a bit more than that. So again, we can kind of find what we're looking for. A Sticky Barb. Well, you can get a lot of those, right? Pretty sure that's one of the items that you can get from the Digging Duo, and just like that, we have 63 Sticky Barbs. Do this, and we get to save a lot of time, because like hunting down the right trader for TR is annoying. Trying to find the right den can also be annoying for getting TRs. So there's a lot of very valuable TRs that you can get from the Cram O Matic that are very competitive. So it's like, oh, you just kind of find a way to craft all of the different ones that you're looking for, and you're going to be good to go. Now, we can also take a quick look at the spreadsheet and just kind of see the TRs, since if you go to Bulbapedia, it's just going to be like the images of it, so you have to hover over them, and you can't even see that on the video because of how like the overlays work and recording and whatnot. But I mean, it's also funny to see how outdated it was, because people were looking for very specific recipe combinations. Like, oh, 4 Flame Orbs, that gives you Flamethrower. Or you can just do a Cherry Berry, a Sticky Barb, and then 2 Light Clay because you get the right point value. So that's the thing. But I mean, Hydro Pump, Surf, Ice Beam, Blizzard, Low Kick, Thunderbolt. All of these are really good. So if you just want like a quick lookup as to the TR that you're looking for, you can just kind of go over here and then just be like, all right, what am I looking for? Taunt, Nasty Plot, Foul Play, Throat Chop, Dark Pulse, Crunch, and Darkest Lariat. I needed a Crunch recently to put on one of my Pokemon, and I just crafted it, just like that. Now, you also might be able to notice some of the really good items that can be found on this table. Like the Utility Umbrella, it's really hard to get a second one, even though it's kind of a crap item, but you can still get multiple of like these special items. And then we have the Star Suite and the Ribbon Suite. These are exclusive for special Alcremie forms, and you could only get them from max raid battle events. Well, now you can just straight up get as many of them as you want. It is RNG based because the Strawberry Suite is more common, so you're still going to have to kind of dedicate to it, and it's a little expensive with 112 to 120. So you do have to get it in a specific range, and then you can just kind of kick it off with a fairy item. Now, this is where things also get a little weird because you can use like a Shiny Stone or a Moonstone to start it for Fairy. That's only 6 points. So you're going to have to put in a lot of other points to kind of work up to that. The Berry Suite, however, the suites themselves are actually worth base 30. So that's a good way of kind of converting your suites. So if you use a suite and then other items, well, you're going to at least get that suite back, and then it only costs the items to roll for a better suite. And then the Digging Duo gets even cooler because of the point system. So the 40-point items are pretty hard to get. Like rare candies, you can find some that respawn, and you might get them from max raid battles. For the most part, you don't want to use them, but they are kind of an accessible way of adding 40 points to a total, so we can keep that in mind. No one wants to give up the memories, PP Max ability capsules, so some of the 40 ones are just weird. Big nuggets, you can't get those from Digging Duo, but Comet Shards. If you stack up a lot of Comet Shards, that's just a straight 34 right there. So let's go and add 2 Comet Shards, and then that means we don't have to close the gap as much. Now, it does leave us with a pretty fine range to work with because we have to go 112 through 120. So that's going to leave us with a gap. Like, we have 98, so it's going to leave us with a 14 to 22 gap. However, the Iron Ball is worth 16, and the Iron Ball is something that you end up with a lot of. So we have Iron Ball, this recipe. Again, you just kind of like craft it and you create your own with the tons of resources that you have. That's why I recommend that you do the Digging Duo a lot. And it apparently just works, turns out to be even better. Like, I thought the Digging Duo was really cool because you can just kind of put in rare items and maybe get some really good stuff out of it. But the Digging Duo is even better than I thought, because now you have like all these bits and pieces to use the points to even get low point items that you might be looking for, or high point items. And also there's like that whole thing where you put in 4 rare bones and you end up with a wishing piece. Well, that just seems to be luck because rare bones aren't really worth that many points. Just get wishing pieces. And we haven't even gotten to one of the best parts, and that's the special recipes. The following recipes have guaranteed outcomes that override these standard recipe patterns. So a lot of people were talking about how, oh, if you put in 4 Armorite ore, you get a PP up. Now, to me personally, that sounds terrible because you use Armorite ore on the Digging Paw, and then you use those watts on the Digging Duo to get wishing pieces and rare bones, so you can use more wishing pieces to do raids to get more Armorite ore, and then it's an infinite loop of any item you want in the game. That's pretty dope. However, 3 Armorite ore for PP up? That's a little more compelling because that second slot doesn't matter for these special recipes, so you can actually save items in the long run. And I found that really awesome and also really interesting how you can do it. So if we go and throw in an Armorite ore, a Cherry Berry, which we can buy for pretty much no money, and then 2 Armorite ore, that's going to give us a PP up. Now, time skipping and then having like a big box, like you go Pokemon Bank, you do a lot of wonder trades. I have like 400 different trainer IDs, so I can get a PP up every minute by doing the time skipping. So it's not really worth it to me to waste Armorite ore like that, but just kind of like the instant access is pretty cool. Same thing with the gold bottle cap. 4 bottle caps, that's kind of a waste because if you do a max raid battle, if you have like the most basic breeding setup, if you catch a strong Pokemon, like you're going to have 2+ IVs on most Pokemon. But 3 bottle caps to a gold bottle cap, bit more compelling. And then there's like transmutation stuff going on here. So you can use Stardust to get a star piece, and you can use star pieces to get the Comet Shards, and then this is going to give you more effective point value that you can use to then stack items and then get to the rare items. Because as you can see right here, pretty much for every typing, if you get to 132 to 140, you end up with a rare candy. That's 40 points right there. If you go 142 to 150, that's a bottle cap. That's a flippin' bottle cap. Like, you can just make bottle caps whenever you want, and then if you dunk the big money, you have access to the PP up, depending on all of this stuff. So once again, PP up seems a little too expensive, but like putting bottle caps and rare candies in reach like that, by just condensing down some of the items that you have a lot of because of the Digging Duo, that's just really cool. You can make up some really interesting recipes, like 2 rare candies and 2 Comet Shards. Now, Comet Shards are pretty expensive. I like selling my comet shards and then using that to buy vitamins and making instant competitive Pokemon. But I mean, depending on how many rare candies you have, if we can scroll down and find it, I have 143. I can do this, and if I desperately need a bottle cap to make a competitive Pokemon, boom. We're using 2 rare candies, even though like EXP Candy Large can give you more effective levels up to like level 100 or something. So I mean, you just do whatever you want and you can get all kinds of crazy items, and I love it so much. And then again, the transmutation, so you end up with like Stardust from raid battles and you can make those into more expensive items. The mushrooms don't really have too much value to them, but it's really nice when you can still like do crafting and get some of the lower tier stuff, and then that turns into really good items as well. Also, the crafting for getting the dubious disc and the upgrade aren't as crazy as everyone thought, because there were like some really weird specific ones. Nah, to get the electric typing, you can just kind of throw in all kinds of weird stuff. Fossilized bird. I have tons of those. I have lots of fossils. So, I mean, that's, again, like, it's going to be looking for some of the type catalysts and then just throwing things at it until you get it. And then we get to talk about the Curveball recipes. And unfortunately, like, okay, the Curveballs are super weird because it's exactly how it feels. You throw in 4 apricorns, and then it seems like a really rare chance to get a Curveball, and there's not really anything you can do about it. And the funny thing is, it's what it feels like. So you get a Curveball, and you're like, man, is this like a 1% chance? Yes. Yes, it is. And then if you're thinking about the Sport Ball or the Safari Ball, then it's like, wait, is it actually a 0.1% chance? Yes. Yes, it is. Now, the distribution is also based on the apricorns that you put in. So it's actually 0.25% of the specific Curveball, depending on how many of that apricorn you put in. The following table shows the approximate Pokeball distributions for feeding 4 apricorns of the same color. Multiple colors are used and the probabilities are split. So 2 black, 2 white will give you 0.5% chance of a heavy ball and then 0.5% chance of producing a fast ball. And yeah, that's kind of all there is to it. I don't really think these in-between balls really matter that much. It's also kind of weird that we have these special kind of balls next to the Ultra Ball, so that was kind of tripping people up. They're like, oh, if I'm getting Ultra Ball, must be on the same tier as Pokeball and Great Ball. No, it's actually on the same tier as like the Luxury Ball and some of these other balls, and then it doesn't have any impact on what the Curveballs are. But yeah, that's kind of it for the Curveballs. Again, nothing special. I think it's just way cooler that you have all of these opportunities to make all kinds of different things. And that's where berries come into play. Like, berries are a really good way of starting off a recipe, can craft into some very specific and special recipes as well. And then the Digging Duo, you get tons of resources from the Digging Duo, and it hard converts into very usable stuff. So yeah, that's a breakdown of one of the greatest features ever added in Pokemon. Like, this was just something hidden in plain, well, not even hidden in plain sight, but it was like something secret. It was an extra gameplay feature they just kind of like tagged into a trailer, and now that it's out, it's like, oh, this is one of the greatest quality of life things ever. And then you can even do stupid things like feeding in 4 berries and ending up with a heat crash, and then that you can actually turn that into automatic money by just pressing the A button. So Cram O Matic, tons of possibilities. I also feel like with the transmutation, there might be some like alternate paths to getting certain items that could be really cool, or upgrading berries and like star pieces and then comet shards and then ending up with a bottle cap from very little resources. So I like this. I hope it returns. Since it is one of the greatest features, I hope maybe it gets expanded upon in some kind of way. Maybe like throw in Pokeballs that you're not using anymore and then get other value out of it. But overall, an alchemy system in Pokemon, transmutation, equivalent exchange, might have just triggered some Minecraft players. That was the point. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.